Hey everybody. Well, it's Christmas time again. Damn, it went by fast. Well, anyway, it's Christmas time, and I'm sure y'all are having a good Christmas. If you're not, that's not my problem. Don't blame anybody else but yourself. Okay? If everybody is not having a good Christmas, that's your own fault. I don't want to hear you blaming anything else. Okay? Clearly, you just don't like Christmas. You're a Scrooge. You're a Bezer Scrooge. I'm enjoying Christmas though, and to enjoy Christmas more, I should give you all a nice Christmas video. Remember last year I said I was too wimpy to make a list of my favorite Christmas movies of all time, and I just did Christmas comedies of all time? Well, I think now it's time I do actually work on a list of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. Not a lot of titles on here are really going to be titles everyone else would go with. See, this is just my thought list, okay? It's a list I thought of for movies I've seen and ranked for my opinion. Also, one thing I'm gonna do is I'm excluding TV specials. The last video of favorite Christmas comedies, I included TV specials. Well, if I'm doing a list of my favorite Christmas movies of all time, I might as well just do movies. So you're not gonna see any TV specials, any direct-to-video or direct-to-TV movies, just theatrical released Christmas titles that I think are the most fun for Christmas. This will be ranked by which films I just seem to get the spirit into the most. And you're probably not gonna see titles like Die Hard on there because those aren't really the Christmas spirit titles. They're Christmas titles, just not spirited Christmas titles. That makes sense. Let's get this list over with. Art for Christmas. Now, this is actually something interesting, but when I first heard about this movie, when it first was released, I honestly thought it was going to be stupid. Yeah, because it was made by Sony Pictures, sure, stupid, but I thought it was going to be something like, I don't know, let's say, Deck the Halls. Remember that movie? Well, I thought it was going to be something like that, just a simple comedy slapstick with a very bad moral. Again, I just thought it was going to go that direction. But I have to be honest, when I first saw this movie, when I was younger, it was actually not that bad. In fact, I've even grown to liking it even more, because when I first saw it, I thought it was okay. But I've grown to actually think it is one of Sony's best animated titles. And don't worry, I said one of best titles. Into the Spider-Verse is still the perfect one. But to be all honest, this movie did higher expectations to me. I admired it. I liked what they were going with. They did a good job with the moral. They didn't make it too stupid. I can enjoy what it did. It kind of did feel something weird. I mean, some moments didn't make sense, but overall, I can at least see this movie as it working for the holidays, as it does actually still follow up with the trend of kids movies that want to make kids think Santa is real. Trust me, he's not. I'm sorry, but I'm sure a lot of you who are watching this right now are old enough to know that. White Christmas. Now here's a movie that doesn't care about the whole Santa's real shit. This movie is made by the same person who put together Casablanca. You know, that one film that everyone's been calling a huge classic. Well, then there's this movie. This is the film with Bing Crosby, Danny Kaye, two old ones who did appear in this older Christmas title called Holiday Inn. Well, now we have White Christmas, a movie that surprisingly tells a story about White Christmas. Is not a surprise. This movie's actually pretty interesting because you think they're going to go with a moral saying Christmas needs snow, but they do actually let you learn more from it. And I'm glad. I was scared they were just going to keep that moral forced throughout the film, but it didn't. It surprised us with new details that we can enjoy. I'm glad because honestly, if they really did go with the moral of we need snow on Christmas, it would honestly not work as well. It's set around World War II, so most of the stories about World War II. So that's just what makes it an interesting Christmas film. It actually focuses on real life problems that aren't even related to Christmas. Actually, now I think about it, that's kind of unnecessary, but who cares? It's a good movie. The Polar Express. Now, this is a film that when I saw it as a young child, I honestly really loved so much that I wanted to think about it as one of the best films to experience at that time. But when I got older and older and older, I realized there are things about this movie I kind of overlooked. But even though those moments are overlooked, this is still a Christmas classic that I can always look forward to enjoying every year. This is actually the first movie Robert Zemeckis made using motion capture animation fully, and it certainly has aged well, as nowadays motion capture is one of the simplest text specs of filming. But back then, using it was pretty crazy. And yes, it works in this movie. I love what this movie does. It has a full like motion capture story, giving us some fun details about the story of a kid who hops on a train to go to the North Pole. But that's one thing I did overlook as a child. The fact that the premise might confuse some kids. Some weird conductor guy picks up a kid, says, "Want to hop in my train and go to the North Pole?" And then he just takes them. Trust me, kids. If you are young watching this, I just want to let you all know, if some guy comes up and tells you to hop in to go to the North Pole, do not hop in. Trust, you are not going. Unless it is a train. If it is a train, you could fall for it, but honestly, I don't know. The Polar Express's moral is great, but the premise is something. Either way, this movie is still very fun to watch. It still holds up really well. I don't care how many problems I can find, it's still a great experience. The Santa Claus. Now, Santa Claus is a character that's definitely been used a lot in kids' movies. A lot of movies try to go with the premise of Santa being real, but most of the time they're going to go with the premise of some people thinking Santa's not real, but it turns out he really is. That's kind of how it works. Like in this movie, a dude knocks out Santa and puts on the suit when he realizes he's now Santa Claus, even though he doesn't believe in Santa. Either way, this is a very fun premise when you actually see the movie. If you remember me talking about this in my favorite Christmas comedies list, you know I was just talking about what makes this fun humor. Well, besides the humor, they did go with an interesting premise. A guy has to become the new Santa after knocking out Santa. That's an interesting story arc. And I love the way they put it together. They make us know about it if Santa really does real. If he is real and you kill him, you're forced to have to become him. But trust me, he's not, so that's something. It's just, this does scare some people to find if he really is real and you do kill him. It's a weird idea, but I honestly can't help but love it. Even the poster just reminds you this is a fun movie. Elf. Okay, actually this poster and the Santa Claus poster really look alike. That makes me wonder something. But anyway, Elf is another really great Christmas comedy that I love. If you're never on my list of favorite Christmas comedies, this was number 2. That's how great it is. Now, for a comedy, it's great, but for the overall spirit of Christmas, it's at number 6, because there are 5 movies I think that tell the Christmas spirit a lot better. Anyway, let's think about what's great about Elf. Well, the great thing about Elf is that doesn't talk about a Santa as much as they bring up the elf. An elf is apparently finds out he's actually a human who was raised by an elf. As he goes to the North Pole not the North Pole, I'm stupid. He goes to New York to meet his father and since he's an elf, he doesn't understand the place well, so he's always going through crazy stuff. While the premise is hilarious and so are most of the jokes, there are some moments that are actually very serious. There are just moments where the dad snaps at Elf, and nobody believes he's actually an elf. Like, do you know who plays the dad? James Caan. I'm not kidding. The same James Caan from Misery is the father of an elf. No wonder he's on the naughty list. Elf is a great movie. It's funny, it's enjoyable, and can get us into the Christmas spirit a lot. One day I'm gonna pretty much say the entire screenplay of this movie from my head, as I can watch this movie a billion times and never get tired of it. At least at this point. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. In my list of favorite Christmas comedies, this was at number 3 when Elf was number 2. But for overall Christmas movie standards, I can call Christmas Vacation a little bit better. Why? Because boy does it know what it's doing. Christmas Vacation is a sequel to the National Lampoon Vacation movies. While it doesn't make sense, because this movie is about the Griswolds staying home, but it's called Christmas Vacation. I'm kind of still wondering why I went with that. Anyway, this movie's great because not only does it have great humor in it, but it also really tells its story very interestingly. It goes with the simple moral that Christmas doesn't have to go the way the father wants it. It just has to go the way the whole family can enjoy it. It's a really interesting, good premise to teach for a movie like this. I mean, all the jokes work, but mostly comes from how they're played out. As there are moments that just feel very crazy, like they fail to put the lights up and it gets all sad and emotional. It's not that sad because he flips out, which adds humor, but there is one moment at the end where he doesn't get a bonus check like he imagined, so he gets all upset and crazy. And his father tells him to stay calm and realize the importance, which is great because the entire movie, the father just doesn't like his own son, but until the very end where he actually helps his son with his problems. Now, that's a really interesting idea, and I think Christmas Vacation does it in a great way. For a comedy film, it's number 3, but for a overall Christmas time, it can definitely be much more fun than Imagine. Home Alone. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are still wondering why I think Home Alone is that funny of a movie. I just think it is. It's my all-time favorite Christmas comedy film. It's the funniest one, in my opinion. I think it's the funniest one just because of the idea of a kid having to take out burglars. That just honestly cracks me up a lot. But for overall Christmas terms, I can certainly give Home Alone much more credit. Well, Home Alone is a story about a kid who gets left alone for his family who are going on vacation. That may work if it was a summer title. Summer or Christmas title, it's a great one. Okay, this could work anytime, but they chose Christmas time because I guess it's just something that Chris Columbus and John Hughes haven't done before together. Perhaps they. I need to do some research afterwards. Either way, Home Alone is great because of the fact of how much iconic moments are in it. There's tons of iconic, like of course the classic "put your hands on your face and scream" moments. Everyone does that a lot. There's the idea of a kid left alone who has to take down burglars. That's been mocked a bunch of times. That's been used, referenced a lot. Home Alone just tells the story in a great and interesting way. It makes us all understand the importance of life. While it may be fun to not have a family on Christmas, you're definitely gonna need one if you want to be happy with yourself. Okay, maybe some people probably don't want to listen to that, but overall, the moral is you shouldn't wish for your family to disappear from you because that's gonna ruin your Christmas. If your family disappeared from you without your permission, I guess this isn't really the kind of movie you need to watch. But if you do have a family that you wish to disappear, you will enjoy a lot when it comes to this. Starting to offend a lot of people now. It's a Wonderful Life. Okay, it's weird to put this at number 3, as most people consider it the number 1 best Christmas title. Granted, this movie has a great love story, but the key word is love story. Most of this movie is great just for its overall love story. The Christmas spirit put into this movie mostly is only really found until the final end. The opening parts of the movie aren't feel as Christmassy as it does till closer to when the film is over. They level up the Christmas a lot more. It goes from not very much Christmas to very Christmas. So to be honest, I can't really be mad at a movie with that idea. I could just say it's number 3 and these two movies mean Christmas spirit more. What It's a Wonderful Life teaches is the premise of a guy who wishes he was never born as he seems to go through struggles in life, but then finds what would happen if he was never born and realizes he really should be born. That's a great moral to teach people, that you really should be happy with yourself no matter how many problems you deal with. Or something like that. Again, this movie would work if it wasn't set around Christmas, but since it is set around Christmas, it makes for a very fun and very enduring story. And I just think It's a Wonderful Life will always stand out to me as one of the greatest classic titles of the 40s, when mostly I don't really talk about movies of the 40s as often. I talked about this movie a lot when I was making my list of favorite family titles from that time, but hey, we can't all saw number 1 for this. I have a lot to say about this, and so far it's a great movie, fun Christmas, but these two movies are more Christmas. A Christmas Carol. I chose this version because, well, come on, you know how many versions there are? I'm not really dumb. A lot of the versions are great. Pretty much every version's great, so I just chose one out of the bunch to talk about, as they all have the same premise, just with a different style. The premise is, of course, about a guy named Scrooge who doesn't like Christmas and always seems to never have the spirit in him, but then spends a night who experienced ghosts to show him how much more Christmas means. So then he learns to enjoy Christmas and is becoming a huge hit of Christmas. That's just a tale you can't ignore. If you ignore that tale, if you think that's a dumb premise, you're a Scrooge. I think you need to be visited by ghosts. I think that's a good idea. A story about a guy who doesn't like A Christmas Carol, gets visited by ghosts, and learn how much more A Christmas Carol means. That's a interesting idea, maybe. Maybe I can think about writing that someday. Anyway, the classic A Christmas Carol tale has been done so many times, so I just went one of the bunch and just talked about it as they all has the same version. There's this version, there's the Muppet Christmas Carol. That version is kind of my favorite. But again, so many titles, so little time. It's a book. It deserves that attention. But what movie do I think has the best Christmas spirit in it? Well, in my opinion, A Christmas Story. The title alone just worked for it. A Christmas Story. Movies that have Christmas in the name do have most Christmas spirit in them. And I think A Christmas Story has that name in the best way possible. Like, honestly, I just can't get enough of this story. The story this movie gives us is really great. I don't even know what to say. It's, of course, the story of a kid who goes through life of Christmas and always has struggles. This teaches a moral I think is taught very well throughout any of these other Christmas movies I was talking about. The moral of Christmas is fun with the family. It doesn't always have to go the way you plan it. You just gotta admire what you get and enjoy the Christmas you truly deserve. A Christmas Story teaches that lesson in a great way, and I personally think it has become a classic so much. Most people just don't want to talk about Christmas anymore because of what's happening this year. Well, piss off. Watch A Christmas Story. You watch A Christmas Story, you'll forget how much crap this year is giving us. It doesn't matter what's going on this year. It doesn't matter if the world's not working the way you want it to. What matters is that you're still getting some good stuff out of it. You have Christmas. Don't ignore Christmas like that. It's not fair. A Christmas Story should be won by everybody. And if you love Christmas so much, I recommend this movie a lot. I don't care what you're going to say about Christmas this year. Nothing will be bad about it at all. It's going to be a great Christmas this year, no matter what else this year gave us. And I think the best way to find that is to watch this. In my opinion, at least. Well, there you go, fellas. I talked about Christmas again. Merry Christmas to all, and to all, I'm out of here. So, remember, Christmas isn't your thing this year if you don't want to think of it. But it really is, okay? Be a good kid. Respect what Christmas is about. Because I'm still having trouble figuring that out myself. Just send me some Merry Christmas comments, please. That's all I need. Don't anymore. Don't talk about this list. If you're going to comment on this video, just say Merry Christmas. I don't want to hear anything else. I'm out of here.